This is a video for showing you how to use Excel to fill in this table. This is for Chapter 2. I believe the assignment is standard deviation or something of the like, and or center and spread, I believe actually. Chapter 2, center and spread. And you need to fill in this table, which basically what they're having you do is go through the steps for finding standard deviation. So if you go down the bottom here, they actually give you the standard deviation formula in the problem. Now, when you follow a formula like this, I know it looks a little bit scary, we follow the order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses first. So parentheses is the please, in the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You would do x minus mu. Now mu is just the mean. Now, one thing I do want you to notice here is that they are saying to calculate the standard deviation for the sample data, but they are using all population values here. Mu is a population mean, and they are also finding a population standard deviation here because they are dividing by n and not n minus 1. So this is a bit incorrect in that they're calling this sample when it actually is being calculated like a population, or at least that's how they're asking us to do it. So we want to subtract the mean from every single x value. Then we would do our exponents and square everything, and that's what they're having you do here in this second column. Then you would add them all up. That's what this is, your uppercase sigma, which just means add up all your values. Then you would divide by how many values you have, which in this case is 5 x values. And then you would take the square root, right? So that's a lot of steps. Subtract the mean, square all the values, add them up, divide by how many, take the square root. That is 5 steps. Now we can actually skip right to the standard deviation in Excel. However, we still do need to fill out this value, but I do want to show you how to find both your mean and standard deviation in Excel in basically one click. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy what this values are here. I'm going to have an x minus mu. I'm just going to write out mu because I don't want to find the value, and x minus mu squared, just so I know what my columns are. And they are giving us 5 x values, 2, 1, 6, 8, and 10. Now you can find your mean and standard deviation very easily in Excel using a couple of functions. When you want to open up a function, what you do is just click on any random cell. I'm just not going to click in these because these are going to be values for my table that I need to fill in. So I'm just going to click this one right here. I'm going to write mean at the top, and underneath it I'm going to calculate the mean. You're going to press the equal sign, and then you're going to start to type average, AV, and you're going to see it bring up a couple of things, but you're going to pick the average function, which is finding the mean, which is an average in Excel. Now you don't have to actually type in all the numbers. You can click and drag and then press enter and you're done. So I'm going to start with the 2, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to drag my mouse down, let it go, and press enter. And now I have that 5.4 is the mean of my data. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to calculate the standard deviation so that as we go through this problem, once we get to the end, we'll know that we have the correct answer, and we'll know that all of the values in our table are correct. So again, I'm going to just press equals. I'm going to start typing standard deviation. I believe you just have to type in ST. And you're going to see a couple of different standard deviation functions. The two we're going to focus on are stdev.p and stdev.s. .p is when you're dealing with a population. Again, that's when you divide by n and n only. Standard deviation.s is when you're dividing by n minus 1. Now again, I know in this first sentence of the problem they said sample data, but the formula that they are giving us is for the population. So we're going to pick population standard deviation so that we get this problem correct. And again, I'm not going to type in all my values. I am literally going to click and drag all my data values because I'm finding the standard deviation of these 5 values and press enter. And that is my standard deviation. They do want us to round to 2 decimal places, so you would type that as 3.44. Okay. Now there is a round function as well, if you'd like to do that in your in Excel. If you want to do that, you would press equals. You would type in round, right? You don't want to do round down or round up, just round. And what you would do is you would click on the cell and you would click the number of digits they want you to round to. So we want to round to 2 digits, so comma 2, and press enter. And that would make it so that you round correctly and you would put 3.44 here. But if you are already very well versed in rounding, you don't need to do that step. Okay, so now let's work on filling in the rest of this table. The first thing I want to do is I want to do x minus mu. I want to subtract the mean from every x value. Now again, Excel is going to make this super easy. Click the cell right under my x minus mu where I want it to go. I'm going to press equals. I want to first choose my x value, and I'm going to subtract my mean. Now I'm not going to write 5.4. I'm going to click my mean down here. Makes it super easy. Now the only thing is if I were to drag this down now, what it would do is it would change the number for each one of the cells. It would make this one A3, A4, A5, but it also would make this one A11, A12, A13. I want to keep this as A10. So the way that you do that in Excel is you press Shift, number 4, which gets you the dollar sign, and you're going to do that both in front of your letter and in front of your number, and press enter. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this cell again. There's a little square in the bottom right hand corner. I'm going to grab at that. I'm going to drag it down, and I'm going to let go. And it has just filled in my values for all of my x minus mu's. And if you click on it, you can see here up in the top where I have my formula, it's done A3 minus A10, A4 minus A10, A5 minus A10, and so on. Okay. Now one of the nice reasons that I put in A10 instead of putting in just 5.4, what if I had accidentally typed in one of these values wrong? I don't want to have to do the problem all over again. So I could just change one value, say this was supposed to be a 3, and it changes anything that I need to do. It's going to change it right away, okay? Without me having to do anything. But I'm going to put it back to a 2, and now I'm all set. It just changes all the values back. Now the next thing I need to do for the next column is to square all of my x minus mu's, all of my deviations from the mean. So I'm going to click the cell, I'm going to press equals, I'm going to click on the cell that I want to square, which is B2, and we're going to use what's called the caret function. So the caret is that little up arrow that I actually typed up here in case you didn't know how I typed that. It is under your 6 button, and what you do is press Shift 6, and this means that you're raising something to an exponent. And I'll put my 2 and press enter. So now I have squared negative 3.4, which is just negative 3.4 times itself. Now click on that cell, grab the bottom right hand corner, and drag it on down. And now you have found all of your values squared. The next thing they wanted you to do in this table is to find the total of that column, because again, that's what this uppercase sigma means to do. It means add them all up. So I'm just going to write total here so that I know what this is. If I want to find the total of a column, I'm going to again press my equal sign. Now I'm going to start writing the word sum. And you'll see you have the sum function here. Press sum. And then I'm going to click and drag and let go and press enter. And this 59.2 is the sum of this column here, all of these values. Now, if I were going to go ahead and find the standard deviation only with my formula, not the cheat way I did over here, which is fabulous, right? But if I were going to do this with my formula, I would then divide this total by the number of values that I have, which is 5. So I would say equals the 59.2 divided by 5 and press enter. And then I would take the square root of the number I just found. So again, I'm going to press equals. I'm going to press SQ. You'll see that it brings up SQRT, which is square root. I would press my 11.4 that I have here, 8.4, and press enter. And you can see that it's exactly matching the standard deviation that I found before. So please let me know if you have any questions. I know this was a lot about Excel, but it just shows you how much you can do without having to write out all these values on paper. And just let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help.